it was really hard to imagine going 2 days of, what is already a hard distance. And people had told me that Giannis Coroz's 48-hour world record was maybe the toughest record, because it was just so far out there. And I don't even know what the next closest man, is like 20 something miles behind. And so yeah, I mean, it was just hard to imagine, doing 2 days of 24 hours. But, I mean, we deep dive into the unknown and we find out if we can swim. So I think it took me 2 tries, and, it's been a humbling journey to achieving this. And it took me 2 tries, and I failed both times. And, finally the third try, I was able to get it right. And oh boy, did I get it right. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for, it was a heck of a race, a heck of a journey. And, I'm finishing feeling, really, just feeling amazing that, I achieved, what I set out to do. So.
Was there doubt in your mind that, hey, maybe I'm just not made for the 48 hours?
No, I really felt like I'm made for it, that I'm born to do it. And I mean, I guess you could say I'm a slow learner. I mean, sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get it right. And I've even, for 100 miles, I didn't nail it the first couple attempts at 100 miles, and I just had to keep trying. And I think that goes to show, just to have perseverance and to not give up on your dreams. I think that doing the multi-day races is more strategic. And I actually got a book. I'm trying to think if I have it over here on the table. I got a book about multi-day racing from a friend, and it helped me to change my mindset for the race, knowing that I needed to be more strategic than I had been for the shorter distances. And like you said, I mean, you're having to deal with sleep deprivation. You're having to deal with extreme levels of pain and fatigue, and gear changes, nutrition. I mean, there's a lot more variables that you have to get dialed into. And so I started sleeping on day one. I started taking power naps on day one for this race. And I think that was really the game changer, that it felt like it just kept recharging my brain like it's a battery. And that is really what helped me to be strong on day two. I kind of approached the first 24 hours as being like a more relaxed 24-hour pace, which I equated that to about 65% of max heart rate, which is like an easy run pace. And so I think I was running like, 8 minute to 8:30 per mile pace, which, is like an easy, comfortable pace for me. So yeah, I was really focused on, just being this really chill pace on day one. But at some point, I mean, you become sleep deprived and fatigued, and your energy's depleted. And it's kind of like you're just trying to move at whatever pace you can sustain. So I didn't know what that pace was going to be or what it was going to feel like on day two. But in my mind, I was telling myself to just push as hard as I can. And so I think it ended up, I was running between maybe like 10-minute, 10:30 pace, like towards the end of the race. And yeah, and then you incorporate, 4+ hours of stop time. And so, yeah, it ends up being, I think my moving pace was like I don't even know, 9:45 per mile or something like that. My moving pace for, the time I was moving. And then I had 4 hours and 6 minutes of stop time. Most people start to kind of nosedive the last like 6 hours. And I was like a straight line all the way to the finish. And I really think it was sleep. I think like just getting that little bit of sleep to kind of recharge my brain, like gave me the mental strength to continue to push towards the end. And yeah, I mean, maybe even being a woman, I did a post today talking about, how women are made to endure because of our maternal instinct. And so, whether it's estrogen or maternal instinct, we have the ability to endure a lot of extreme levels of pain and fatigue. And so, yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking about all these things, during the race, thinking, just keep pushing, I'm, I got to see this through, I got to find out what's possible. And so, yeah, I was just really motivated and inspired. And, I give credit to my husband, Connor, and all the support on the side. I mean, everybody was cheering me on. And yeah, I mean, I had amazing support there, and, it's super exciting.
Not everyone's an ultra runner. Sort of, how did you get into this, and when did you know you're gonna be really good at it?
Yeah. Well, I felt like I competed for a long time at the marathon and the shorter distances, and everybody was like kind of encouraging me to try ultra running. And I ran a lot of marathons, and like 10 years ago, I was running, back to back marathons. And um, I remember I was at the New York City Marathon, and David Monty, the elite coordinator, I had ran the Pan American Games marathon and then ran New York City, and I ran really well at both of them. And he started planting the seed for me to try ultra running. So yeah, I ended up running my first ultra at Two Oceans back in 2013. And my first couple ultras didn't go so well, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to commit to it, but I figured, well, I'm just going to give it another shot. And so 2015 is when I recommitted myself, and I went back to training more like a marathoner, and, just straight up marathon training going into 2015. And that's when things started to happen. And I ended up running my first 100K, and it went really, really well. And I qualified for both the 50K and the 100K World Championships. And then I went into those World Championships and won both of the World Championships in 2015. And yeah, then I ran the 50-mile world best that fall as well. So yeah, I felt like, I found my calling in life, that, I'm really grateful that I gave ultra running another chance, because I was at the point where I was about to retire, because I worked full time in research at that time. And I felt like I had achieved everything I wanted to in the marathon and the shorter distances. And I felt like I had nothing more to do there. And so for me, it just, it opened up a whole new world, a whole new chapter in my life and in my running career. And yeah, I mean, you don't know until you try. And so, I feel very blessed that, I gave ultra running a shot, and that I've continued to go further and cross over different distances, different terrains. And I mean, it's what a heck of a journey here the past 8 years.
Are you getting better?
Yeah, so I become a master's runner, and last year I turned 40. And yeah, it's crazy. I think I'm getting stronger and faster, and I would say the biggest difference is right here. I'm becoming wiser. And so, yeah, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of failures as an ultra runner. I've dropped out of races. I've had a lot of injuries. And yeah, I feel like I've really, turned a new page here since I become a master's runner, that I'm really trying to be a lot smarter with my training and my nutrition and my sleep. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's really, becoming a master's runner has really re-inspired me, reinvigorated my running career. And I feel great right now. And I'm not being so, tough on myself with my training. I don't have to be workout champ all the time, that I can be smarter and kind of, give credit to my husband for helping me pull back the reins. And so, yeah, I'm just, I'm being a lot smarter, and that's really what it comes down to. I'm just, being smarter.
Can you kind of frame your training, sort of big picture for everybody?
Yeah, yeah. I think I train more like a marathoner. I guess I would say that I don't do quite as much quality, and I don't do as many long runs as I used to. But I train, I do about 12 to 13 runs a week. And most of my runs are between 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then I do speed work twice a week, strides and drills twice a week. And then in terms of long runs, I've really de-emphasized long runs the past couple years, and even going back to being a marathoner. Probably like now I do a long run of about 18 to 22 miles once or twice a month. But if I'm doing a lot of ultras, like I just ran 100 miles in February and came back for 48 hours in March. I didn't do any long runs between those. I had a short, turnaround time between those. So I think my longest run was like 2 hours. Yeah, so I'm not doing like a lot of crazy long runs or back to back long runs. And I mean, I feel like a lot of ultra runners have the mindset that they have to do more. And even a lot of marathoners stepping up to ultra runners, they think they have to do more. They think they have to do longer long runs, more long runs. And I've definitely made those mistakes at the beginning of my career. When I first got into this sport in 2013, I was trying to extend my long run, and I was feeling flat. I felt flat doing, 30-mile training runs. And I just didn't feel like there was any benefit to doing that. So it was when I went back to more of a quality-based marathon training approach that things started to really change for me. And I started to get my spring back in my legs. And I think that applies to even, going longer, doing 100 miles, doing 24 hours, 48 hours. I still have to tap into my leg speed and my turnover. Even when I was running the 48-hour world record, I did pickups during that race because I was trying to change my muscle usage because your hip flexors get really tight. I mean, you're in that same repetitive turnover, running on a track, for over 1,000 laps. I mean, that's that same turnover. So I was doing hard pickups during the race to change my muscle usage. And I mean, I have to do speed work to be able to do that. So yeah, I think it still is very critical for ultra runners.
On the mental side, how do you handle it? How do you prepare?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just propelled by joy. I love to run. I feel like I'm like wired. I've joked I'm like that mouse that gets on the wheel that likes to run like all day. I mean, if you had like 10 mice and there's always that one mice that just loves to run, and so I'm that one mice. So yeah, I get out there, and for me it's about staying motivated, staying inspired, and I know that I'm going to have challenges. It's basically not possible to have a perfect race in ultra running. That you're going to have challenges, and you have to accept that as part of the race. And so for me, it's kind of fun because I have a science background, and I'm used to troubleshooting and problem solving. And ultra running gives me a chance to like use my brain and to kind of be that nerd, that science nerd, and problem solving.
Someone who knows nothing about ultra running, you're better at the roads and the track, right, than the trails. Is that a fair assessment? You've done better so
Well,
far.
I think it's just a matter of, where I focus my attention to. That, I think of it as like learning how to ride a bike, that the more you practice something, the better you're going to get at it. And so I, intentionally had to focus more on the road stuff because that's what my natural background is. But, I've had quite a bit of success on the trails as well. I just haven't done as much of it. And so, yeah, for me, I'm stubborn. I want to get something right. However many times it takes to get something right, I'm going to keep trying, kind of like I did with the 48-hour race. So, yeah, I feel like I just have to keep showing up, kind of like Des Linden with Boston. It took her 8 times to win the race. So I need to keep showing up and, keep trying to master the trails. And I believe I can win. I absolutely believe I can win. I'm, keep getting better at it, keep working my way to the top. And yeah, I'm just going to keep trying.